Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Tuesday night. It is the Earthmaster out here, about 7:54 p.m. California time, December 10th, 2024 is the date. Latest activity, I don't know why it's showing a zero out here, a little 0.0, but it looks like there's an earthquake coming into the Petrolea area. That's Northern California, showing up there on that seismograph station. Not a big one because it's not showing up on a nearby Dinsmore station there in Northern California as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the latest activity here from the USGS with regards to all the activity here ramping up across the California area recently, and Nevada, Alaska area. In fact, Alaska's seen another upper 5-pointer out there this morning. Things are still quite interesting out here, and I say that because we really haven't seen any broad-scale adjustment out here across the western Pacific. That leads me to believe here that we're not quite done. We're expecting some further larger-scale adjustment here across the west coast. There is a 5.1 it looks like coming into the a little bit east here along the Aleutian Trench from our swarming area. I don't see it showing up here on the USGS map. Let me check out the EMSC model here and see what we have, because that globe there is showing a new 5-pointer just east there along the plate boundary. Looks like this quake right here from 23:35 UTC time. So that was that was about 4 hours or so ago. A little uncertain though on if it's a legit earthquake or not. These parameters here of this earthquake is actually being provided there by the Germany seismic network. USGS not picking up on that, so not for sure if that's actually a legit earthquake or not, but EMSC agency is picking up on it. But we still got to watch it. Definitely still seeing some larger scale adjustment there with that 5.8 this morning, absent of earthquake activity here across the western Pacific. That's why I think and I think it's been right here for the past week since we've seen all this elevated activity. It's been awfully quiet here across this region. I think until we see some further large-scale adjustment out here across this area of the plate boundary, we're going to be on cue here for some larger-scale movement, whether that includes Alaska, maybe down the coast here of Canada, Cascadia subduction zone. Speaking of that, let's go check out the tremor map here tonight. See what we have. There we go. Once again, 338 epicenters of tremor. That's at the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone there, folks. That's a decent number, and it's been that way off and on here over the past week. If we look at the latest information here, shows about 1,300 not earthquakes, but they're epicenters of tremor down into the subduction zone, and it's focused right here across the southern end of the Cascadia. Let me see what we had here prior to that. Couple upticks here back on the 25th of November. Let's go ahead and see. I'll cue this up here real quick. Yeah, as you can see here, that's primarily the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone is the one seeing all this tremor activity, and that's where we've been seeing a lot of larger scale adjustment there off the coast of Northern California, putting a strain there on the Mendocino Triple Point area. Also at the same time here, I feel that has stirred up the earthquake activity inland. Noticed a number of earthquakes out here in California, and a trail of earthquakes leading off here from the about the Trinity Mountains area eastward and southward here. Overall, this region here is quite elevated. It's not only, Nevada. Prior to the 7-pointer here, there was some interesting activity underneath the Sacramento Valley here. Some 3.1 and the 2.7. Missy Mimi's here felt that 3.1. And then a couple days later is when we had that, actually it was 1 day later, we had that 7-pointer stir up there off the coast of California. So what I'm getting at here is that things are amplified on a broad scale. And that needs to include this area up here across the Blanco fracture zone. So I'm going to include that in the last 30 days. That's putting the strain down here on the southern end of the Cascadia, amplifying the tremor. It is adding strain, or we're seeing the strain build up here across the plate boundary to the south, well inland, everywhere but the Cascadia subduction zone for now. If you can see right here, it's just this plate, this area of the Cascadia that's got this amplified tremor activity here in the last month. A small amount way up north, but right now we're getting large-scale tremor. Today is no exception. That's 300 and what was today's? 338 epicenters of tremor, the extreme southern end of the Cascadia. I think we're going to see something bigger out here. Whether it's going to pop here on the Cascadia or we may see another inland earthquake activity event out here, similar to what we've seen there in Nevada recently. Because a lot of times, these fault systems, various fault systems, take a couple hundred years to build up some strain. And we could see some larger events out here. We've got to watch that pretty closely. Las Vegas, down across Las Vegas, has been swarming recently. That was about the time Southern California kicked up here, about a month or so. No, about 2 months ago, we started seeing a whole bunch of activity here in Southern Cal. We've seen a swarm of activity across western Nevada. Right now, Southern California is not really seeing all that much uptick right now. It just seems as though everything's just compacted right here across this area. That includes the southern end of the Cascadia. So there's definitely something brewing out here. Southern California quiet for now, but that may not be the case for much longer. A couple smaller quakes here across southern Nevada. Look at the total tally here of earthquakes across the Nevada area following the 5.8 yesterday. Over 200 earthquakes now. Wow, goodness. Let's see what the most recent one is. A couple smaller ones out there, but at least they're reporting them. I can't say the same for over here across Northern California. It doesn't seem like they want to report the smaller quakes. And I guarantee you, with all the 4s we've seen, and the 3s and the 2s, there has to be hundreds of 1s in that mix there. And it's just, they haven't really included them all. They've included a few of them, but I'm sure there's a lot more. 365 earthquakes officially from the USGS, but that number is probably closer, if not above 500 or more in terms of if we're looking at all the small microquake activity. Because you got to remember, for every 4-pointer, there's going to be a certain number of 3s. For every 3-pointer, there's going to be a certain number of 2s, and so on. So for every 2s, a couple of 2 magnitude ranges, and we've had a lot, there should be hundreds of 1s, and they're just not including them out there. They're leaving them out. I don't know why. There is a little trail of activity here. Look at this. This might be a little concerning because that is much closer here to the Cascadia subduction zone area. 2.9, 12 miles deep. So it's getting down into the subduction zone there. 2.1, 16 miles deep. That's still associated with the subduction zone, the Cascadia. 1.9, a little bit more shallower. All the focus right now is across the southern end of the Cascadia. It's very possible this thing could get ready to produce a big one. And this area, it's highly dynamic subduction zone here. I've said it a lot, but I'll repeat it because a lot of folks here uncertain onto what the Cascadia is capable of, and that's producing a greater than a 9.0 earthquake upon a full rupture. That would include the entire length here from the Queen Charlotte Sound south into Northern California, where we're seeing the current activity. Now, partial ruptures occur, in between these larger events. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. And if you think about it here, I think we have a higher likelihood of seeing a partial rupture than a full rupture out here. A lot of focus down here on the southern end right now. and that would be this part here off northern California coast, southern, extreme southern coast here of Oregon as well, where we're seeing all this activity. It's amplified in a sense compared to the other section of the Cascadia due to what goes on here. You see those ridges? That is a divergent boundary zone, separation of the seafloor. All that activity is pushing this plate, the Gorda plate here, underneath the North American plate here. That's a Cascadia subduction zone. So we get more, I think we get a much higher strain accumulation here across the southern end, which would result in a more likelihood of a partial rupture compared to a complete rupture out there, which takes a little bit longer to build up steam. So we'll watch that. I mean, it's a little, we got this activity up here. That's some of the migration I said to keep an eye on. We'll watch that overnight, see if things don't really maybe spread up here more. All it takes here is a triggering earthquake here at the Cascadia to produce a decent event. I think it's ripe. I think that's a key word. It's ripe. So we'll definitely watch that. A lot of activity focus right here, folks. Inland, Yellowstone, nothing showing up there, but let's go see it real quick. I'm a little tired. Spent the night up in the cabin up around Chester area. Beautiful cabin up there. And it's nice to get away once in a while, get some R&R. But it's also draining, I don't know why. I just feel super tired. Hopefully I'm not coming down with a cold. There's what is that? That's going to be the 5.8 from earlier. There across the Aleutian Trench earlier this morning time period. So that coincides with the time from that 5.8, about 10:04. In this case, it would be about 11:04 with the seismic wave arriving a short time later following the main quake. It takes a little while for the S wave to reach over here. But aside from that, really nothing major going on there as far as seismic activity across Yellowstone. This is this is a super volcano, but it's also super duper quiet. Texas area pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on out there. The new Madrid seismic zone's been rocking and rolling recently, but things look quiet out there as well. Everywhere but California, the Gulf of Alaska region, the Aleutian Trench. Something big is in the works here. Just don't know exactly what it is. A 4.5, fairly deep earthquake here across the Tonga Trench. That's 533 kilometers deep there for that quake. 331 miles deep. USGS reporting that as well. Not a whole lot going on across New Zealand, and there's that absence of earthquake activity here. It's been like that pretty much since we've started to see elevated activity here across California. So bouncing back and forth between some major adjustment there recently. We've got to keep an eye on the Cascadia. That's interesting. Just had a 2.3 pop up here. I was saying it was quiet out here across the new Madrid seismic zone, and all of a sudden this gets hit with an earthquake here in the last couple minutes, a 2.3. So that makes 10 quakes now across the area of the new Madrid seismic zone. Might start to kick up out there. Interesting. All right. Let's see what else we got here. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. One earthquake way up north, around the North Pole, maybe above that. Nothing major across the Mediterranean. The rest of the area here, typical crunch zones out here around the plate boundaries. That's going to be Taiwan south through the Philippines, Indonesia Islands area, Java Trench, quite active, but that's always active there. So we just got to watch things here across the northern area of the Pacific plate right now, getting some interesting, unusual activity out here. A little swarm going on there across the maybe off the El Salvador area, it looks like. Nothing showing up here on the USGS map, but there's a little bit of movement going on there. South America, that's always like that. Any given day, you're going to see 2s and 3s and 4s That's just a major subduction zone there, and that's just what happens there across that lengthy subduction zone. Space weather activity, I'm just going to try to keep this short, folks. Nothing major, just some sea-flare activity. Sizzling a little bit with some sea-flare activity. Overall threat, as you can see right here, nothing big. Got a 10% chance there for some X-flare activity. Nothing major there in the Aurora forecast for now, folks. Quick look here at the weather models. Continue to see some weather out there across the south and eastern portion of the country here tonight and tomorrow. That scoots out of the way. California welcoming back the rainfall here. Looks like late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Looks like that may open the storm door there for a number of wet systems there across the west coast. I say bring it on. All right, folks, I'm going to call it. I'm pretty tired. We'll keep an eye on things here. Petrolea starting to act up a little bit. Looks like some movement stirring up out there right now. You know, we watched a couple spikes there on the station. USGS not reporting anything under 2. So those may be about 1.5, 1.3. And that's going to be this seismograph station here, Petrolea. Now the bigger ones, you know, up above the 2 range, they will show up here across the Dinsmore station. So Petrolea, the closest area. Dinsmore sits back further inland, away from the current ongoing activity. But the 2s will definitely show up there. And, of course, anything bigger. So just be on guard, folks. Stay safe. It's been cool. Like I say, it's been an active week out here. And it's primarily focused out here right now. Not too often do we see that. But also, remember, any larger movement like megaquake activity out here should relieve the strain out here across this area. But that hasn't taken place yet. So we'll watch that. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys back out here tomorrow morning. Stay safe, folks.